For my senior capstone, I chose to take a class called Negotiating Diversity. I chose this class because I love learning about different cultures and ways of life that are different from my own. I learned so much in this class, and it's for that reason that when I came to the topic of this presentation, which is what I learned about diversity in this class, I had no idea where to start. I had trouble finding a connecting theme from all the subjects that we learned about. However, I think that I finally landed on a main theme. This theme is what we did in every single class, and it's talking about race. My name is Marina Stanson, and I'm presenting about talking about race, normalizing meaningful conversations. First, before you can have a meaningful conversation about race, there's an amount of internal preparation that needs to take place. I'm going to explain a few steps that need to be taken to dispel our ignorance and insecurities when it comes to having a conversation about race. Step 1 is to let go of your fear. Many people are afraid to talk about race and have what is called racial anxiety. Racial anxiety has two different meanings, and these are 1, being afraid to be judged based on your race, and 2, being afraid to be perceived as racist. This is a real fear, and it matters because it can have unintended consequences. These consequences can be not spending as much time with people from a different race because you're afraid to be judged by them. However, this is exactly the opposite of what you should strive to be doing. You should strive to spend as much time with people who are different from you as possible so that you can learn more about them and let go of your fear. Step 2 is to forget about racial colorblindness and accept that it is a counterproductive ideology. Racial colorblindness is, simply put, ignoring race or pretending that it doesn't exist. For example, I'm sure that you've heard people say that they don't see race or that they don't notice race. By claiming you don't see race, you're also turning your eyes away from the injustice that has happened and is continuing to happen today. In order to have a conversation about race, you need to accept that it exists. Third, as a white person, you need to be able to acknowledge your privilege and bias. Dwight Smith from Net Impact describes privilege as unmerited or unearned advantage. I've heard many white people try to deny the existence of white privilege, but after taking this class, I have learned that it is undeniably real. Did you know that a part of white privilege is getting to believe that it doesn't exist? From a handout that we received in class, I have 3 examples of white privilege. The first one is, I can easily arrange to be in the company of people from my own race. The second one is, I can be pretty sure my neighbors will be neutral or pleasant to me. And the third one is, I can turn on the TV and see people from my own race represented. So next, now that we've made our internal preparation, we are ready to engage in a meaningful conversation about race. Here's what to expect. Once you're having a meaningful conversation about race, you'll be stepping out of your comfort zone, and that is okay. Embrace the discomfort of not having all the answers. This is part of preparing yourself to learn. You don't have all sides of the stories, and you can be learn to be comfortable in the discomfort of changing your mind and relearning your values. Next, it's important to know how to listen. Genuine listening takes practice and effort. Debbie Irving states that people often speak at each other, not with each other. And I believe that this is true, and it's important when having a meaningful conversation about race to truly listen to the person who's talking. That way you can understand what they're talking about and be able to ask meaningful questions. Also, don't be afraid to ask questions. Asking questions isn't disrespectful, but instead it shows that you're willing to learn. Perhaps one of the most important parts about talking about race is telling your own story and not being afraid to give your input. Of course, you want to do this in a respectful way and be open to potential disagreements, but you cannot have a part in a conversation without saying your part. Finally, it's time to move forward and normalize talking about race. Together, we can normalize talking about race and unite, strengthen, and even prosper because of it. Many times in this class, I've found myself raising my hand to give my own opinion on a topic. It would be a lie to say that every time I did this, I was completely comfortable or confident. However, by giving my thoughts, I'm sure I was able to open someone's mind to something that they hadn't thought about before, and for this, I'm grateful. Thank you for listening. Okay.
That was was good, Raina, and it was, I liked it a lot.